There are some who make the claim that according to the Quran, two females equal one man, because the Quran says when you bring witnesses, bring one male witness and two female witnesses. Therefore, this implies inequality, and that two females equals one man, and therefore one lady is half the worth of a man, of a male. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to read the verse, and we're going to see what it says and what it doesn't say. And I'd really like to ask you to pay attention, because you need to pay attention, because there's so much propaganda about this verse that the propaganda makes you think that this is saying something that it isn't. So you need to pay attention very carefully. So now this is what it says, and this comes from the second chapter of the Quran, verse 282, and it says the following: O you who believe, when you deal with each other in transactions involving future obligations in a fixed period of time, reduce them to writing. Let a scribe write down faithfully as between the parties. Let not the scribe refuse to write, as Allah has taught him, so let him write. Let him who incurs the liability dictate, but let him fear his Lord, Allah, and not diminish of anything of what he owes. If the party liable is mentally deficient or weak or unable himself to dictate, let his guardian dictate faithfully, and get two witnesses out of your own men. And if there are not two men, then a man and two women, such as you choose for witnesses, so that if one of them errs, the other can remind her. And that's what it says. Now, I know some people might be saying, well, wait a minute, you just said it yourself. Bring one male witness and two female witnesses. Therefore, you said it. That proves inequality. I mean, what are you trying to argue here? Move along. Case closed. It doesn't say what you think it says. And I'm going to read it again. And again, you try to grasp what it's saying. And it's saying it clearly for you. So I'm going to read it again, just in case you didn't get it the first time. And if there are not two men, then a man and two women, such as you choose for witnesses, so that if one of them errs, the other can remind her. Did you catch it? Did you catch it? Now, in case you didn't, let's make it clear as to what this verse is not saying, what we didn't hear. Nowhere in this verse does it say bring two female witnesses, because two female witnesses simply equal one man, and that two female witnesses are half a man. Nowhere does it say that. In fact, I challenge you to show me where in this verse does it say that bring two female witnesses, because two female witnesses equals one man. Now, some people might say, well, it's implied because it says two female witnesses and one male. Therefore, implicitly, it's making the point clear. After all, if you're going to get one male and two females, that means there's an inequality. Well, actually, now let's see what the verse actually does say. We looked at what it doesn't say. Now what we're going to see is what it does say, because it actually gives the reason as to why you bring two female witnesses. And I read it twice for you just so you could catch it. I mean, what a coincidence. The verse actually tells us why it's two female witnesses. It didn't just stay quiet so we can all guess. No, it actually says, it gives the reason. And now I'm going to read it for you. This is not even my interpretation. I'm just reading what the verse says. So here's the reason. And if there are not two men, then a man and two women, such as you choose for witnesses, so that if one of them errs or makes a mistake, the other can remind her. Now did you catch it? So the reason why there are two female witnesses is not because a female is half the worth of a man. No, it's because, as the verse just said, it's simply because if one of the females who is writing down the contract makes a mistake or forgets something, the other one can simply remind her. So the point of the second female witness is simply there to assist her in case she makes a mistake. That's it. If the first female doesn't do any mistake and simply writes down everything as it should be written down, then there's no problem. Her witness alone is good enough. The other female witness is not needed. Again, the other female witness is just there for convenience, simply to help her out. And again, this is not what I'm saying, because if I say something like this, the haters will say, "Oh, you're just trying to be wishy-washy, you're just trying to get rid of the bad Islam, So let me read it again. This is what it says. This is not my wishy-washy interpretation. And if there are not two men, then a man and two women, such as you choose for witnesses, so that if one of them errs, the other can remind her." There you go. If the main female witness makes a mistake, the other can remind her. That's it. So it's simply there for convenience. That's the reason. The reason is not because females are half a man. And again, I challenge you, where in this verse does it say that? Secondly, that's not even a logical conclusion to make. Two females, one man equals half the worth. No, sometimes there's perfectly logical reasons why you'd have to come up with such a reason. And here's the reason right now. But even if the Quran didn't give a reason, it would not equal two females equals one man. It still wouldn't come to that conclusion. That's your own mind coming to that conclusion because of propaganda. I mean, I can make the same argument about the Bible. According to the Bible, if you get a baby boy, you're unclean for 1 week. If you get a baby girl, you're unclean for 2 weeks. Now, if we want to use the same logic, that verse means that a boy is more cleaner than a girl. And a girl's purity is half that of a boy. Now, of course, that probably is not the case. There probably is a perfectly logical explanation to it. It doesn't follow. That's what I'm trying to say. You need to give a good reason as to why it means that. And anyway, and we still have the reason for the Quran. The Quran gives us the reason. So that argument that two female witnesses equals one man because a female is worth half a man is completely thrown out the window. And again, I challenge you, if you have a problem with what I'm saying, show me where in this verse where it says get. In fact, let me read it for you and let's see what it should say according to your argument. If two females equals one man, this is what it should have said. And if there are not two men, then a man and two women, such as you choose for witnesses, because one female is the worth of half a man. Now that's what it should say. If two females equals one man, that's what it should say. But it doesn't. Now why is that? Is that a coincidence? Obviously not. And I think I've made that point crystal clear. And just again, as it says, the reason why there's two female witnesses is because if one of them simply makes a mistake, the other can simply help her out. It's a means of convenience. That's it. I mean, what a sin. The Quran tries to help females, and now the Quran is a bad guy. I mean, it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you try to help women, you're being inequality, you're being bad. If you don't try to help women, why aren't you trying to help women? It's like, no matter what you do, you're always damned. The Quran is trying to do a good thing here for the convenience of woman. Just if she needs help or makes a mistake, her friend, partner, whatever, can help her out. That's it. But oh no, that's evil. How dare the Quran try to help a female? No. They don't deserve any help. No, that's inequality. If you try to help a female if she makes a mistake, that's inequality. That's wrong. How dare you? And here's another point. This is the second point. This verse is simply referring to financial contracts. You see, this is what's very interesting. Many people apply this verse, the propagandists, they apply this verse and then they apply it to the entire religion. Now they say, whenever you need witnesses, it always has to be 2 women, 1 man. No, this verse is specifically referring to financial transactions. When you're writing a contract of a debt. That's the context, in case you've missed it in the first part. O you who believe, when you deal with each other in transactions involving future obligations in a fixed period of time, reduce them to writing. Let a scribe write it down. So you see, this is only for business financial transactions. And back in the day, females in that time were not that good in business matters. That wasn't their field, writing down contracts to do with financial debts and so forth and so forth. That's a fact. Now I know what some people might be saying. Oh, well, Khadija was a businesswoman. Khadija was a businesswoman, so that refutes your argument. Oh yeah, one lady refutes the general context of the time. Yeah. I guess we can also make the argument that during the civil rights era in America, blacks actually didn't have it so bad. African Americans didn't have it so bad because there were some African Americans who were very rich and living very good. So therefore that means that there was no civil rights problem. There was no problem for African Americans. No, not at all. You see, ladies and gentlemen, there's always exceptions to the general ruling. Even if there were 500 Khadijas at the time, that still doesn't refute that the general context of the time, back in the day, females weren't that good in the area of contracts and business deals. So that's about it. So this was mainly to do in regards to financial transactions involving a debt. That's it in this specific case. So, does Islam say that 2 females equals 1 man, or that a female is half the worth of a man? Nope, it doesn't say that at all. And I read the verse to you 3 to 4 times, and not once did it say that. I mean, if you still have a problem with what I just said, then please, I beg of you to show me where this verse says that 2 females equals 1 man. Please, maybe you'll do magic and the verse will suddenly say that. But as we all know, it says what it says, and the only reason why there are 2 female witnesses is just because in case one of them makes a mistake, the other can help her out. If one of them doesn't make a mistake, then her witness is good enough. So, thank you very much. That's about it, and have a nice day.